That was her punishment for stealing my dad away from me during our argument. Jenna seized my arm and forcefully dragged me outside, shoving me into a grimy shed. Despite my efforts to resist, youth had the advantage of strength, leaving me trapped in the chilly darkness. As panic set in, I suddenly remembered the weight in my back pocket. Frantically searching, I found it, my ID. My name is Sophia Johnson, 42 years old. I work as an administrative assistant at a company. The job isn't too complicated, but it's never boring. I find it fulfilling, and my coworkers are all kind-hearted, which I love about my workplace. It might be rare in the workforce, but I genuinely enjoy my job every day and don't find it burdensome. Yet one concern nags at me: I'm not married. Watching friends settle down happily makes me envious and a bit melancholic. The thought of facing life alone is daunting, but with no prospects in sight, I wonder if anyone will ever take an interest in me. Every day, I'm consumed by uneasy thoughts of the future. After years of contemplating my future alone, I finally found love and married Robert Johnson. He's 7 years my senior and works for one of our client companies. Robert became the point of contact at my workplace, and over time, our initial hesitations gave way to a deepening relationship. We dated for several years before tying the knot, a moment that filled me with genuine elation. I hoped earnestly that together Robert and I would build a happy home. Robert came with a 15-year-old daughter named Jenna from his previous marriage. He had been upfront about Jenna from the start, and I had met her on several occasions. Jenna, reserved yet devoted to her father, always warmed my heart with her attachment to Robert. I harbored a quiet hope that as we settled into our new life together, Jenna and I would grow close. Little did I realize then the complexities of Jenna's true nature. Upon marrying Robert, I moved into their home and took on the role of homemaker after leaving my job. I devoted myself to ensuring Robert and Jenna's comfort, preparing nutritious meals, and maintaining a tidy household. Though these tasks may seem mundane, I believe they contributed to our collective happiness. However, adjusting to family life proved challenging after years of independence. In those moments, my solace came from Oliver, a cat who became a source of comfort amidst the new routines and responsibilities. Oliver had always been a fixture in Robert's house. He wasn't exactly slim, and I'd heard he had a knack for sneaking out. But I held on to the belief that as long as I was home, he'd stay put. Despite facing many exhausting days, I found solace in watching Oliver. Life after marriage brought its challenges, yet I often felt happier than during my single days. But there was one lingering concern: Jenna's apparent disinterest in me. No matter how I tried to engage her in conversation, Jenna would meet my attempts with a puzzled look and continued silence. "Welcome home, Jenna," I would greet her. She'd only give me a fleeting glance in response. "How was school today? Did you have a good time?" I persisted, hoping for a connection, but she remained unresponsive. After giving Oliver a quick pat, she would retreat to her room without a word. Despite her indifference, I clung to the belief that she simply needed more time to accept me. At 15, navigating her father's remarriage and adjusting to a new woman in the house who wasn't her mother was undoubtedly challenging. I had encountered Jenna several times before Robert and I tied the knot, but she never seemed to warm to me. I agonized over how to win her acceptance, but despite my efforts, Jenna remained distant. Ignoring me became her norm, and she began actively avoiding me with a perpetually displeased expression whenever we crossed paths. When Robert was around, she would exchange a few words, perhaps to avoid upsetting him, whom she clearly adored. Still, I considered this better than complete silence. Now, it's been 4 years since I married Robert. The divide between Jenna and me persisted, and life felt somewhat detached. Even after sharing a home for 3 years, I knew little about Jenna, her favorite foods, her hobbies, except for her affection for Oliver. I had grown accustomed to her scrutinizing gaze, initially intimidating. Then, unexpectedly, when Jenna entered high school, she initiated a conversation with me. "Hey, what's up?" Her words caught me off guard, and my voice involuntarily rose in surprise. Was she finally beginning to open up? I waited eagerly to hear what she would say next, my emotions swirling. However, what Jenna said next took me completely by surprise. "How long are you going to stay in this house?" I was taken aback by Jenna's abrupt question. "What? I'm asking how long you're planning to stay. Can you leave soon? You're in the way." The words hit me like a sudden gust of wind, leaving me stunned and unsure of how to respond. "Why would you say that?" I managed to ask, trying to comprehend the unexpected request. Jenna didn't hesitate to voice her feelings, revealing the turmoil she had been carrying. "Look, I love my dad. It was just the two of us, you know. Why do we suddenly have to live with an old woman like you trying to act like a mother? I just can't handle it." Her words pierced through me, leaving me speechless and hurt. I thought if I just gave you space. I struggled to find the right words amidst the flood of emotions. In front of Dad, you act all high and mighty, but it's been tough for me, Jenna continued, her tone sharp with resentment. Maybe it's time you realize your place, old lady. Her words stung deeply, and I felt tears welling up uncontrollably. Jenna's satisfaction at my distress only added to the pain. She had been harboring such negative feelings towards me all this time, and now they were laid bare. As Jenna walked away, leaving me in silence, I grappled with the weight of her words. What happened to the efforts of the past 4 years? Despite my earnest attempts to win her acceptance, Jenna had never truly welcomed me into her life. How could I bridge this gap now? The question haunted me, but I had no answers. From that day forward, Jenna's insults became a regular occurrence. Sophia, I've always thought this, but you're really terrible at cooking. It's seriously awful. Oh, I see. I'm sorry, I would reply softly, trying to mask my hurt. It's sad for Dad, you know? There are so many better people out there. With Dad's charm, he could remarry in a heartbeat. Jenna would continue, always putting on a different face when around Robert. Jenna, you've said before that Sophia's cooking is quite delicious, haven't you? Yeah, it's tasty, she would quickly respond. It wasn't new, but each time Jenna seamlessly switched gears, it left me bewildered. What's wrong, Sophia? Robert would ask. I'm just feeling a bit conflicted, I would manage, struggling to maintain my composure. Yet Jenna's criticisms and veiled barbs continued without restraint. Many times I considered breaking down and confiding in Robert, but I could never bring myself to burden him with my troubles. He always seemed so occupied with work, and I convinced myself that enduring the situation would eventually lead to improvement. Even though Jenna professed her love for Robert, I hoped that perhaps someday she would move out on her own. Until then, I resolved to simply endure. 5 years passed, during which Jenna graduated from high school and went on to college. She later secured a job at a company near home. Around the same time, Robert's business trips became more frequent and prolonged. What started as short trips of a day or two gradually extended to weeks or even a full month away. As Robert's absences increased, Jenna's verbal attacks persisted and intensified. With Robert not around, Jenna seemed to let loose without restraint. This food is awful. Can't you do anything right? She would criticize. Say something, Jenna would scoff before abruptly leaving her meal and heading to Oliver's spot. I stared at the uneaten food, setting down my utensils with a heavy heart, enduring her constant verbal abuse and feeling more like a maid than a mother had worn me down over time. There wasn't a specific moment that triggered it, but one day, I finally reached my breaking point. Enough, just leave already. I'm tired of this. Hey, you're always telling me to leave. Maybe it's time you leave, I snapped back, surprising Jenna with my outburst. She recoiled momentarily before retaliating with more cutting remarks. What? Why are you suddenly talking back? I seriously can't deal with this. I can't take it anymore. If you can't stand it, why don't you move out? You have a job, you have money, and you do fine on your own. I'm a homemaker. I can't just up and leave. My words seemed to strike a nerve as Jenna fell silent for a moment. I could sense her anger simmering beneath the surface. Lost your tongue? What happened to all that energy just a moment ago? I pushed, feeling a brief surge of confidence. But in an instant, Jenna's demeanor shifted. She grabbed my arm tightly, causing me to cry out in pain. Ouch! Ignoring my protests, Jenna forcibly dragged me outside. Hey, I exclaimed as she led me toward a small storage shed at the edge of the yard. Without hesitation, she shoved me inside. Despite my resistance, I couldn't match her strength, and before I knew it, I was locked inside the shed. What are you doing? Let me out. I banged desperately on the walls, hoping Jenna would relent, but she seemed unmoved by my pleas. I can't just let you out, even if you insist. Oh, by the way, I haven't mentioned it, but I've got a trip planned for 3 days, Jenna taunted callously. You're serious? What about Oliver? I asked, incredulous at her disregard. Oliver? There's an automatic feeder, so he'll be fine, she replied dismissively, her words cutting deep. You're being so irresponsible. Just stay in there and never come out again. With that final mocking remark, Jenna vanished into the darkness of the shed, leaving me stunned and chilled by the cold air. Punishment. The word echoed in my mind as panic began to overwhelm me. What am I going to do? I can't bear to stay in here for 3 whole days. I thought aloud, my desperation mounting as I banged futilely on the shed walls. Suddenly, my hand brushed against something in my pocket. Oh yeah, I have it. I pulled out my smartphone, a stroke of luck in the midst of despair. Without hesitation, I dialed my friend Sarah Turner's number. Hey Sarah, I greeted as soon as she picked up. Sophia, what's wrong? It's unusual for you to call, Sarah replied, concern evident in her voice. The thing is, I explained my predicament, and without hesitation, Sarah promised to come and help. In what felt like both an eternity and mere moments later, Sarah arrived. Are you okay? Sarah asked as she swung open the shed door, sunlight flooding in, offering a welcome escape from the suffocating darkness. Gratefully, I thanked Sarah, realizing how much I had missed the outside world in just those few hours. She reassured me that I could stay at her place for as long as I needed, understanding my situation with Robert away and my keys left behind. When I emerged from the shed, Jenna's presence was conspicuously absent. She had likely departed for her trip already. My first priority was to contact Robert. I messaged him detailing what had transpired and where I was currently located, silently hoping he would consider returning. While chatting with Sarah, a few minutes later, Robert's call came through. Hello, Sophia, are you alright? His concern was palpable. Robert, I'm fine, thank you. Listen, I'm heading home now. I'll come pick you up, so wait at Sarah's place a bit longer, alright? What about your work? Robert asked. Forget about work. Just know that I'm on my way. It should take about 3 hours, I reassured him. Robert sounded relieved and determined to return promptly. I thanked him and ended the call. He's coming to get me. Can I stay here for another 3 hours or so? I asked Sarah. Of course, and honestly, you have such a caring husband. I can see why Jenna might feel a bit jealous, Sarah commented casually. Jealous? Yes, maybe that's it. She always said she loved her dad, but maybe it's more complicated than that, I mused, considering Sarah's observation. Perhaps, Sarah agreed. But just because she's family doesn't mean you shouldn't set boundaries when necessary. It could help her in the long run. You're right, Sarah. Acting out of anger like I did won't solve anything with Jenna. I need to find a way to communicate effectively with her, I resolved, brainstorming a plan. After formulating an idea, I shared it promptly with Sarah. That's a pretty cool idea. Give it a shot. I'll give it my best shot, Sarah said with amusement, showing her support for the plan. 3 hours later, Robert pulled up to Sarah's house and knocked on the door. Are you okay, Sophia? Robert asked with concern as Sarah let him in. I'm fine, thank you, but what about work? I replied, grateful to see him. You matter more to me than any job, Robert assured me. Plus, I decided to take a few days off. Is it okay for you to take time off like this? Yeah, they said they'll manage, I answered, feeling relieved. I think I need to have a serious talk with Jenna. Later on, I sat down with Robert and recounted in detail everything Jenna had done to me leading up to being trapped in the shed. Robert listened attentively and apologized sincerely. I'm sorry for not noticing sooner. It's not just your fault. I should have been more aware. I regret not seeing what Jenna was doing. I'm truly sorry. The atmosphere was heavy until Sarah broke the tension. Hey, why the long face? You're going to talk to Jenna, right? Stay strong, Sarah encouraged, her words sparking determination in me. You're right, I agreed, feeling bolstered. After thanking Sarah, Robert and I headed home. I worried that I had burdened him with my troubles, but if confronting Jenna could improve her behavior, it would be worth it. Back at home, things settled down a bit. I explained to Robert our plan for addressing Jenna and why I felt it necessary to take such steps. After contemplating for a moment, Robert remarked, well, honestly, given Jenna's history, it might take something drastic to make her understand. 3 days later, the day Jenna was expected to return, we kept watch, unsure of her exact arrival time. We had left the window nearest to the shed open, anticipating her return. Around 6:00 p.m., a taxi pulled up in front of our house, and Jenna stepped out with her luggage. The plan I devised involved making the shed where Jenna thought I was confined appear disheveled and emitting a foul odor. While it's unlikely that anyone would perish under such circumstances in just 3 days, Jenna wouldn't necessarily know that. I intended to startle her into realizing the seriousness of her actions. From my vantage point, I observed Jenna in front of the shed. Her reaction confirmed that my plan was having its intended effect. What's that smell? Jenna wrinkled her nose, clearly affected by the unpleasant odor emanating from the shed. After a moment of hesitation, her expression turned alarmed, and she muttered something under her breath before forcefully opening the shed door. The stench hit her hard, causing her to choke and cough. Her initial shock at the sight inside the shed was evident on her face. What's this? It's been ransacked, Jenna exclaimed in disbelief as she approached the shed. Robert and I stepped forward to confront her. How was your trip, Sophia? Robert asked calmly, but with a hint of sternness. Wait, Dad's here too. Jenna's voice wavered slightly, sensing the seriousness of the situation. Jenna, we need to talk, I interjected, trying to maintain composure despite the tension in the air. Robert's expression was stern, perhaps the most serious I had ever seen. Jenna took a seat on the sofa, looking visibly uneasy. You've hurt Sophia deeply, Robert stated firmly. Jenna remained silent, her gaze fixed on the floor. You were clearly panicked earlier. You thought maybe something terrible had happened to Sophia, Robert continued, his voice steady but firm. It's not like that, Jenna protested, her voice tinged with defensiveness. Then why were you so alarmed in front of the shed? I pressed gently, waiting for Jenna's explanation. It was clear she had something important to reveal. I thought Oliver was inside. What about Oliver, after all? Oliver used to escape often before. I thought maybe he somehow got into the shed and couldn't get out. You should have been worried about Sophia after locking her up. What would have happened if I hadn't come back? I forgot about Sophia. I can't believe I forgot I locked her up, Jenna stammered, her words disjointed as she tried to explain herself. But Robert's reaction was swift and severe. I never expected this from you. I'm truly disappointed. Robert's voice was filled with hurt and disbelief. But wait, Jenna attempted to justify herself. But Robert cut her off sharply. What are you waiting for? To make excuses? His tone was stern, unwilling to entertain any justification for her actions. It's just that I felt like Sophia took you away from me, Jenna continued, her voice tinged with desperation. You endangered someone's safety because of that feeling. Robert's voice rose with anger, and then you forget about it. I never thought I raised you to be so careless. With a heavy sigh, Robert seemed to resign himself to Jenna's behavior. Sensing his disappointment, Jenna stood up, defensively trying to explain herself again. Dad, please don't say that. I love you so much. If Sophia had just waited quietly for 3 days, I would have let her out. And if she hadn't called her friend, none of this would have happened. You didn't need to leave work early or take time off. This is all your fault. Maybe if you hadn't obviously favored her over me, none of this would have come to light. You act on your own and then blame me for everything, Jenna argued, her words laced with resentment and frustration. What? Oh, and by the way, weren't you the one who once said it was okay to leave Oliver alone for 3 days? That's just unthinkable. You have a living creature to care for, Jenna. If you truly cared, leaving him alone for that long wouldn't even be an option. Do you even know what kind of food Oliver is eating right now? Robert and I have been taking care of him all this time. I thought you loved Oliver since we started living together, but now you only pay attention to him when it suits you and ignore him otherwise. It's contradictory and frankly, quite sad. When I spoke honestly about my thoughts, Jenna flushed with anger. Why do I have to hear this from you? You're just a stranger, an outsider. You're the one who took my dad away, so it's all your fault. Hey, that's enough. Jenna's refusal to understand my perspective infuriated me, but Robert intervened. You've been saying nothing but self-centered nonsense. How is any of this Sophia's fault? I can't comprehend your logic, Jenna, Robert interjected firmly. Daddy, Jenna's voice cracked with tears as she clung to Robert, seeking comfort, but Robert remained stoic. Leave this house, Robert commanded coldly. What? Why? Wait, this is so sudden, Jenna protested, clearly taken aback. I can't have someone in this house who thoughtlessly endangers another's life and then brushes it off without a care. Get out, now. Robert's voice was resolute, leaving no room for argument. But this is enough. You think you have the right to talk back? You only ever think about yourself. Jenna tried to reason with Robert, but he ignored her pleas. Finally, she turned to me, her expression fraught with desperation. Sophia, please say something, Jenna pleaded, her voice tinged with desperation. No, it's no use. Just leave. Robert's voice was firm and unwavering. Stop clinging to me just because I'm upset. Just as she said, you really only think about yourself, I added, my frustration evident in my tone. Jenna lowered her head with a defeated look, grabbed her suitcase, and silently left the house. Her departure seemed lonely, but strangely, I felt no sympathy for her at that moment. In the days that followed, my inbox and phone were flooded with emails and calls from Jenna. She sent messages like, I'm sorry, and please forgive me. The sheer volume and timing of these messages, sent in bunches or at odd hours, revealed her self-centered nature. She also updated me on her living situation and struggles. Apparently, she was staying in budget motels while working. Despite her complaints about cleanliness and amenities, she was picky about finding a place with a separate bathroom and reasonable rent. Robert received similar messages and was equally stunned. Either she genuinely can't handle living independently or she's just too focused on herself, Robert remarked, his disappointment palpable. But truthfully, under no circumstances would I ever allow Jenna back into our home. I sincerely hope she takes the time to reflect on her actions. After Jenna's departure, our lives settled back into peacefulness. While Robert still travels for work, it's not as frequent as before, allowing us more time to unwind together. We no longer need to tiptoe around each other, and it's refreshing to feel at ease. Jenna never heeded our warnings, so in a strange way, I find solace in how things have unfolded. Above all, each day spent with Robert brings me pure happiness. After finishing my chores and sinking into the sofa, Oliver climbed onto my lap, purring contentedly as he settled in for a nap. These moments are what I cherish most. As I stroked Oliver's fur, I couldn't help but lose myself in these comforting thoughts.